and welcome to another video to teach you about the wonderful world of Latin. Today's video will teach you about the perfect active system of verbs. Now, the perfect active system is really just talking about three new tenses. So to begin, let's review the tenses that you already know, and then we'll tell you about the new tenses and how to form these new tenses of verbs. So we started with the present tense. It's something that's happening right now. It can either be a one-time action, video, I see, or an ongoing action, I watch or I am seeing. Then we learned the future tense, which is something that's happening in the future. I will see something or I shall see something. And the imperfect tense we learned at the same time. It's an ongoing action in the past. I was seeing or I used to see with a bomb. The way to show the one-time completed action in the past we mentioned was the perfect tense. Weedy, I saw, or I have seen. So this video is going to teach you about the perfect and two other tenses. So let's quickly review a little bit about how to form those first three tenses, the imperfect, present, and future tenses. Those three tenses are called the present system of tenses. So for the present system of tenses, you needed to know what conjugation of verbs each verb was as you conjugated it or created its forms. And you identified the conjugation of verbs from the second principal part. And then that told you the stem vowel to use for each tense. And the tense was indicated by a tense marker. And then these three tenses followed the same basic person and number endings. The perfect system is a little bit different and not quite as complicated in terms of all of the things you need to remember. So let's look at that. The perfect system includes the perfect tense. It's something that happened once, it's done, it happened in the past. In fact, all perfect system tenses are things that are already complete. They're done. They happened. So I saw the cat. I have seen a cat. Both actions happened in the past. The pluperfect tense happens before the imperfect or the perfect tense. I had seen the cat before I saw it run away. For pluperfect, we always translate it with had. And then the other tense in our perfect system is the future perfect tense. I will have seen the cat before I will see it run away. It is something that happens before the future tense, but after the present tense. It's somewhere in the middle there. So I am currently seeing a cat. I will see a dog. Before I will see the dog, I will have seen the cat run away. To give you some examples. All right, so let's look at how we form these new tenses, the perfect, pluperfect, and future perfect. To do these, we need to remember what each principal part of the verbs is. So you remember that the third principal part is the first person singular, perfect, active, indicative. And that's the principal part that we're going to work with to form your perfect, your pluperfect, and your future perfect verbs. It doesn't matter what conjugation the verb is, all verbs follow the same pattern. So we don't have to do anything different for first conjugation, second, third, or fourth. They all follow the exact same pattern. And all of them require your perfect stem, which is based off of that third principal part. And then your person and number endings also indicate the tense of the verb. So let's look at this in practice. And let's start with our perfect tense. Weedy, I saw or I have seen. And let's use the verb facio, facere, feci, factum, meaning to make or to do, as our first example. And remember, it doesn't matter which conjugation verb we're working with. They all follow the exact same patterns. And that pattern is your perfect stem plus your tense, person, and number endings. So first, we can just move that third principal part down for your first person singular perfect active indicative form. And all the other ones we have to form using our equation. So the perfect stem is your third principal part, and you remove that I. So for this verb, it's fake, F-E-C. Then we add our tense, person, and number endings. For all four conjugations, it's basically your third principal part with endings that are rather similar to your present system endings. T in the third person singular, imus in third person plural, istis in second person plural is very similar to tis in second person plural present system, and erunt still has that nt. So here are all of the forms. Notice that second person, both singular and plural, is a little bit different. You have to have that isti in there for second singular and istis for second person plural. So you just have to remember that, but otherwise it's very similar to your present system. So you have your endings e, isti, it, imus, istis, erunt. And so you get for all of these forms, feci, fecisti, fecit, fecimus, fecistis, and fecerunt. So just to make sure we know how to translate them, feci is I made or I have made. Fecisti is you made or you have made. Fecit is he made or she has made or it made. Fecimus is we did or we have done, remembering that facio can mean both to make or to do, so I decided to change it for the plural. Fecistis is you did or y'all have done, and third person plural, fecerunt, they made and they have done. Keep in mind that erunt is your third person plural perfect and is a little bit different than all your other perfect tense forms. All right, once you've written these down, let's move on to the pluperfect tense. So your pluperfect tense, remember, is the tense that comes before the imperfect and perfect verbs. So I had seen something, and then I was seeing something else, or I saw something else. So our pluperfect forms still use your perfect stem and your tense, person, and number endings. For the first person singular, we can't just pull it from the dictionary entry anymore, so we have to start with our perfect stem for all 6 forms. So that is your third principal part, audivi, minus the I, so audiv. And then you need to add your endings, eram, eras, erat, eramus, eratus, erant. You'll notice that these are basically your imperfect forms of the verb sum esse. So altogether, we have audiveram, audiveras, audiverat, audiveramus, audiveratus, and audiverant. And you'll see that you translate audiveram as I had heard, audiveras as you had heard, audiverat as she had heard, audiveramus as we had heard, audiveratus as y'all had heard, and audiverant as they had heard. Once you've copied these down, let's move on to the future perfect tense. So you'll remember that the future perfect tense comes after the present. After all, it's in the future. And then the perfect part means that it's a completed action. So it's something that happens before the future tense. So I will have seen an asteroid before it will hit the Earth. A little bit morbid, but it is an example that illustrates it. And the infrequency of asteroids hitting the Earth is also a good time to mention that the future perfect is a pretty rare tense in Latin, but it is worth knowing so that you know how all 6 tenses work in Latin. So to form the future perfect, let's use an example of a verb you all like, amo, amare, amavi, amatus. And again, you use the pattern of the perfect stem, your third principal part minus the I, and then different endings for each tense, person, and number. So let's start with our perfect stem, amaw, so amawi minus the I. And then you add your tense, person, and number endings. For future perfect, that's ero, eris, erit, erimus, eritus, erint. And you'll notice that these are very similar to the future forms of sum esse. The only difference is that your third person plural is int instead of unt, because that erunt form was used in the perfect. So once we add on all of these endings, you have the entire form, amawero, I will have loved, amaweris, you will have loved, amawerit, he will have loved, amawerimus, we will have loved, amaweritus, y'all will have loved, and amawerint, they will have loved. Okay, once you've copied all of these down, let's look at how we use these in some sentences. So, as you probably expected, the verbs don't change function in each sentence. It's just changing how you translate the verb based on each tense. So in portam magnam video, I see the great gate. Okay, we're used to that. Then if we change our verb video to vidi, our perfect form from our present form, I saw the great gate. We're only changing how we translate the verb. You could also have said, I have seen the great gate. And why don't you try to translate these next two, portam magnam videram and portam magnam videro, and then check your work. Okay, you are right. If you said that portam magnam videram is I had seen the great gate, and portam magnam videro is I will have seen the great gate. Now that we have figured out this new system of verbs, let's check our understanding. And to do that, I'd like you to conjugate these two verbs, terere and servare, in the perfect and pluperfect tenses, and then practice translating a few forms of the verb scribo, scribere. Once you've done that, please call me over. I'll check your work and then tell you your next steps. Thank you.